Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central TV. It's time for news now. I am Judith at TV. The headlines at this hour. Court of Appeal expected to rule on the fate of the defecting status of the 25 pro-Wike River State lawmakers today. South Africa's 7th Parliament swears in new members in its first sitting today. Niger shuts off oil export pipeline to Benin amid diplomatic row. Details shortly. We'll begin with judicial matters, where an appeal court in Port Harcourt has scheduled ruling today, Friday, to hear the case filed by Martin Amawale on behalf of 26 others challenging the decision of the River State High Court, which favored Victor Okojombo, the Speaker of the State House of Assembly. Justice Dagogo Jack of the State High Court had ruled in favor of Okojombo in a suit that restrained Amawale and 26 others from performing any legislative functions and vacated their seats. An interlocutory injunction was also granted against Amawale and the 26 others, which has now been consolidated in the appeal. Should the appeal court rule in favor of Amawale, all laws and bills passed by him and the other members will be validated, and they will resume their legislative functions. We're monitoring this development and will bring you details as it unfolds. In the meantime, the Court of Appeal has set aside contempt rulings initiated by the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, against the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Olanipekun Olukoyede. In a unanimous judgment read by Justice Joseph Oyewole, he set aside the proceedings while ruling or overruling the respondent's preliminary objection, citing technicalities. The appeal court held that the trial judge failed to extend the orders of 9th February in its final judgment of April 17th. He said the second issue raised by the former governor on the interim order had become an academic exercise. The appellate court had earlier granted an ex parte motion for stay of contempt proceedings filed against Olukoyede by ex-governor Bello. And still on judicial matters, Justice Liman Mohammed of the Federal High Court, Kano State, has declared that the dethroned Emir Aminu Ado Bayero has the rights to be heard. The case filed by the kingmaker, Aminu Baba Dan Agundi, is that of a fundamental human rights case in the emirate tussle. The development comes days after a Kano State High Court ordered substituted service on Bayero and 4 other emirs in a case filed by the Kano State government to restrain them from parading themselves as emirs. And now on to government matters, or federal government matters. We're moving on now as President Bola Tinubu is expected to receive a draft bill seeking a return to a regional system of government for Nigeria. Now, the proposed legislation, authored by a chieftain of the Yoruba Socio-Cultural Association, Afanifere, Akin Fakmonda, seeks, among others, new extant laws to be cited as the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria New Governance Model for Nigeria Act 2024. The said bill was, however, disowned by the House of Representatives, whose spokesman, and that's Akin Rotimi, and the chairman committee on rules and business said had not been listed for deliberation in the ongoing moves to review the 1999 Constitution as amended. Fakmonda said that the bill would be transmitted to the president on that's today. Now, earlier, the initiator of the draft bill, Akin Fakmonda, joined us on the news to discuss this. Take a look.
A federal government only in name. In all practical purposes, we are a unitary government under military command and control system. We have just one constitution for the whole country. In a federal system, there are 2 tiers of government. The federal, we have its own constitution. The second tier, we have its own constitution. Be that is may, the Nigerian National Assembly does its own thing the way it wishes without taking cognizance of the views of Nigerians. The National Assembly is fixated on incremental change in the Constitution, amend a little there, a little the other place, because they have 1 billion naira every legislative session to amend constitution. So this assembly now, in the next 4 years, they have 1 billion and they want to spend the money. They are not interested in one final solution to Nigerian problem of constitution.
And on to labor matters. The Association of Local Government of Nigeria has raised concerns over the proposed 62,000 naira minimum wage, insisting that if approved, the wage may put a strain on the council's financial burden. Argon National President Aminu Muazu Maifata said it would be difficult for local government administrations to pay the proposed 62,000 naira. According to him, some of the 774 local government areas in the country are still struggling to pay the 30,000 naira minimum wage approved in 2019. Meanwhile, the federal government on Wednesday admonished organized labor to consider the broader economic implications of its push for an unrealistic higher national minimum wage. Earlier, we're joined by the National Coordinator of Education Rights Campaign, Hassan Soweto, to discuss this.
What has been happening in the past few periods in the country, we have had several cases of corruption, by state governors, by political office holders at different levels. And we have never had a situation whereby, despite the gargantuan nature of those corruption, that they have caused a spike in inflation. I mean, a recent example was, the former governor of Kogi State, who allegedly stole a lot of money and paid his children's school fees, for several years, ahead. And we didn't hear this argument. So why is it that when it comes to workers' wages, that is when this argument of inflation, is deployed? And it's just a lie, because if you look at it, inflation has gone up in the last 12 months, astronomically. And that wasn't because workers' wages were increased. It was simply because the government decided to disrupt the economy by implementing some policies like fuel subsidy removal.
3 persons have died following the collapse of another mining pit in the Adonu community, Paikoro local government area of Niger State. The Director General of the Niger State Emergency Management Agency, Abdullahi Baba-Ara, confirmed the deaths and the rescue of 1 person in the community. According to the DG, all those trapped were recovered from the pit following community efforts. The mining site is said to be an illegal mining site that attracts mostly women and children from the community. And now on to security matters. Yesterday, News Central Television held a town hall meeting in Jos Plateau State to address the saddening deaths and conflicts plaguing some communities. News Central's Chidima Ona compiled this report.
Nigeria's Middle Belt state, known for its mining production, has witnessed several devastating conflicts for decades. Plateau State, with an estimated 3 million people, is known for playing a vital role in the country's prosperous economy with its exportation of tin and columbite. However, recurring tragedies over the years have posed a threat to indigents.
What we have witnessed is a village will be attacked. Those that are killed. Those that are maimed. Then those that remain will have to run to safety. The next day, the attackers will come and occupy the village and live, and they have been living there. That is what has been happening.
It's purely an act of terrorism. Though at the onset, it was more of a religious crisis from 2001. But when it gets to 2010, from that point, particularly 2015, it was more of an ethnic cleansing mission.
Cutting from the government herself, the security agencies on their various formations, the community leaders, the community itself, everybody has something to say and have something to do to maintain peace. If you see any attack, somebody has not done his job, or somebody did his job wrongly.
The first recorded incident of crisis occurred in 1994. Since then, over 4,486 deaths have been recorded, ravaging some communities to the ground. At the event, security officials and critical stakeholders amplified the indigenous call for community-driven solutions.
Sometimes things that are happening somewhere in other locations, people will post it on the net, on internet, everywhere, and be sharing it that it is happening just now in the plateau. We must be sincere with ourselves. Nobody will solve your problem with you. Whether you send all those things to them, they will not come here to solve the problem. It's you on the ground.
There is a commitment from the governor that myself and my team will meet with the governor in the shortest possible time, and our intention and my personal commitment on behalf of New Central is that we will be back here as soon as possible to make sure that we dig deeper in this conversation and we find a solution.
As a call for justice, rehabilitation and compensation rings loud, New Central TV will continue to advocate for justice within its capacity.
The governor of Delta State, Sheriff Oborevwori, on Thursday pledged sustained partnership with the Nigerian military and other security agencies for effective security and socio-economic development of the state. Governor Oborevwori, who was speaking while playing host to the general officer commanding the 6th Division of the Nigerian Army, Port Harcourt in Asaba, reiterated the state government's support for security agencies in the state. The governor, who approved the construction of internal roads at the 6th Brigade headquarters, Asaba, noted that the Army have been playing a significant role in the security architecture of the country.
That will ensure that they have peace. Without peace, there's no development. Without the army and other security agencies, there's no way we can enjoy peace. As oil producing states, the pipeline and everything have to be secured, life and property have to be secured, that we encourage investors. Delta State is open. See, look at now. If you look at Asaba now, the place is fully developed. Because the brigade commander, the encroachment of the IPOB has been reduced drastically. As a government, we continue to collaborate with the Nigerian Army for effective security in line with our agenda.
I want to thank His Excellency also for the very good cooperation shown to the Nigerian Army during the unfortunate incident that happened in Okoma. We interacted very closely with His Excellency within that period. It was a very difficult period for both His Excellency and for us, but I think the way it was handled by His Excellency, it was handled very well, and I want to commend you, sir, for that.
Watching news now on New Central TV. There's more stories after this break. Stay with us. Nigeria's Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has warned against sharp practices where foodstuffs, including grains, are mixed with like products to increase their quantity with an intent at deceiving unsuspecting customers and making more profit. The Commission, during a sensitization program in the nation's capital, Abuja, on the dangers of forced ripening of fruits, adulterated palm oil, and contaminated meats and grains in marketplaces across the country, says that these can endanger the lives of citizens. New Central's Joshua Imarai has the details.
Forced ripening of fruits, adulterated palm oil, contaminated meats and grains have all increasingly become a theme of concern in Nigerian markets. Marketers say this menace has found its way into the markets through sharp practices by individuals wanting to make more gains with less product.
I don't know how that some people, maybe they are doing this because of the thing our hearts, the one made the meat increase. Like this meat now, if you add it, you will give it ×2 of the meat. You understand? But for normal natural meat like this now, fly must, any way that they are doing selling meat, fly must be there. Anything chemical, fly cannot near it. But it's good to you to come and buy meat, you see fly, or you touch it.
In a bid to sensitize Nigerians on the dangers of these food products, the stakeholders started a one-day sensitization program organized by the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission in Abuja, are urging Nigerians to beware of these products or risk health implications.
We adulterate all sorts of oils and grains to the extent that I'm sure most of us know what tiger nuts are. And tiger nuts have this similarity with small pieces of brown stone. It has been the practice that 2 or 3 mudus will be removed from a bag of tiger wood and replaced with stone.
People die. People end up losing vital organs because of adulteration. There is significant health risk attached to this. Let us understand that, please. I don't know how to say it more, but it is vital that we understand that these things can kill people.
Stakeholders warn Nigerians to be cautious of adulterated and contaminated food products. They urge citizens to carefully check labels for crucial information, including ingredient content, expiration dates, manufacturer details, and regulatory certifications to ensure their safety. In Abuja for News Central, Joshua Imarai.
A pro-democracy group, the Kimpact Development Initiative, has launched an artificial intelligence tool expected to boost voter education and improve the nation's electoral process. Now, the tool is designed to answer questions on electoral matters, and educate citizens on the electoral process. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
The tool is called Niger Elections, an artificial intelligence tool designed by pro-democracy group, the Kimpact Development Initiative.
You will agree with me that when it comes to the process, democratic process and electoral process, one of the things that are a major challenge is access to information.
It is one of Nigeria's latest tech innovations, containing simplified election information to guide voters and inform them of the electoral process.
It is a transformative initiative designed to empower our citizens, especially young people. So dismantling barriers to information equips voters with the knowledge they need to make informed decisions and fosters a genuinely inclusive democracy. And what is a genuinely inclusive democracy? Well, everyone feels like they are part of the process. And this also ensures that when we have inclusivity, our democracy becomes stronger because more voices that ordinarily wouldn't have been heard or wouldn't have been part of the process would have been included.
Democracies around the world are facing exceptional challenges from misinformation and disinformation, and that encourages voter apathy and voter skepticism. And it's really important in this environment that our collective efforts promote voter education and reliable information. And by meeting this need through platforms such as Niger Elections, we are obviously also strengthening democracy in Nigeria.
The developers say the innovation is apt, and it is coming at a time advanced plans are underway for the conduct of off-cycle elections.
So you go there to understand what the margin of lead is according to the Constitution, according to the Electoral Act and the INEC guidelines. So the people in Edo and Ondo will have this information at their fingertips to be able to engage the process and to be able to also do better. Again, lastly, one of the things you see there is also you are going to know all the electoral offenses.
Citizens of Edo and Ondo State in southern Nigeria will be expected to explore this innovation as preparations progress for the upcoming governorship polls in a few months' time. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Now to health-related matters. Indigent residents of Delta State, South Nigeria will now have access to quality healthcare delivery as the state government begins their enrollment and adoption into the state contributing healthcare scheme to reduce the mortality ratio within the state. News Central's correspondent Austin Azu, who monitored the flag-off exercise in the state, completes the report.
The Indigent Enrollee Adoption Program, an initiative of the Delta State Contributory Health Commission, aims to ensure that every resident, especially the indigents, regardless of their socio-economic status, have access to quality healthcare delivery across the 25 local government areas of the state. The commission, led by Director General Isaac Akpoveta, is here at Ute Olohe, Ika North-East local government area of the state, and Onishugbo in Anyosha North local government area of the state, to enroll these indigent people into the state contributory healthcare scheme.
This card, you will take them anytime you want to go hospital, carry on with you.
Addressing the beneficiaries, Akpoveta said the enrollment was influenced by sons of the communities to support the government's drive of sustainable healthcare delivery for residents of the state. He said over 2 million residents in the state have been captured in the scheme.
We will continue to register people from every community, no matter how far or distant or difficult to reach it is. It is our duty to fish out all data. It is compulsory for all data to register into the scheme. And we are trying to do that, and we are achieving that.
So we decided to enroll our people, everybody in the family, in the community, into the health scheme, so that we can have access to good health and reduce mortality rates in our community.
Our platform, we see our people die prematurely for reasons that medical care would have been taken care of. And so for me, it's a passion to see that preventable death is actually prevented.
Some of the beneficiaries expressed gratitude to their benefactors.
They give me this card so that I will use it to go to hospital.
I say the thing when they give me, say, na better person, I bring them. And God go bless them, bless all the whole the children and the village.
I can use it and go hospital where I get health challenge. But I want to thank God for governments.
Healthcare should not be a luxury reserved for the privileged few. It is a fundamental human right that must be guaranteed to all. In Delta, for News Central, Austin Azu.
You're watching news now on News Central TV. Coming up, swearing in of new members, election of president, speaker holds. We will bring you details after the break. And news now continues in West Africa, where the taps feeding a pipeline carrying oil from landlocked Niger to Benin for export have been shut off, escalating a diplomatic row between the neighbors. Ties have been strained since last year's coup in Niger and the Benin port of Semepoji, which exports Niger's oil, has emerged as a flashpoint. Under regional sanctions imposed on Niger after the coup, Benin closed the border but has since reopened it. Niger's military rulers, however, have refused to reopen their side. The oil is essential to the economies of both countries and to the Chinese company WAPCO, which operates the pipeline. And on to South Africa, where the long-standing ruling ANC says it has reached an agreement with several other parties to form a coalition after failing to win an outright majority in May's general election. Now, speaking on the eve of the first sitting of the newly elected parliament, Party Secretary General says the government would gravitate to the center after leftist parties shunned the deal. The ANC leader had called for a government of national unity after his party lost its absolute majority in last month's general election, but two major leftist parties shunned the deal.
We believe that we have reached a major breakthrough, that the majority of political parties in our country agree that this moment requires working together not to get into it like a melting pot, but with set principles for others. We have engaged with the DA. We agree on the GNU with them. We have engaged with PA. They agree with the GNU. We have engaged with UDM. They agree with GNU. We have engaged with the IFP. They agree with the GNU.
And meanwhile, South Africa's 7th Parliament has sworn in newly elected members of Parliament in Cape Town. The Parliament will then elect the next President and Speaker. Chief Justice Raymond Zondo opened the first sitting of South Africa's 7th Parliament since the advent of post-apartheid democracy in 1994, swearing in MPs in batches ahead of the election of a Speaker. Now, despite the sitting, parties are still engaging in last-minute discussions to see if they can form part of the government of national unity. Earlier, a political analyst, Professor Nsikalolo Breakfast, joined us on the news to discuss this. Take a look.
Winner in the previous elections, the ANC got 40%, the DA got about, I think, 22%, and then Umkhonto weSizwe, they were in number 3. So that creates a scope for a coalition arrangement or power sharing. But then the ANC has chosen, because it is the leading political party in terms of numbers, they've chosen a government of national unity, which is essentially power sharing. But it must be noted that it's not the first time we have an arrangement of this nature. In 1994, we did have a power sharing arrangement or a government of national unity, whereby the ANC shared power with the National Party that was in charge of running the country under the circumstances of the apartheid regime. But then it fell apart in 1996. But the difference between then and now is that that arrangement of 94, it was informed by political reforms. It was informed by the democratization process, which is the political transition to
Malawian President Lazarus Chakwera has appealed to the international community to render its support in the investigations of the plane crash that claimed the lives of the Vice President and 8 others on Monday. Chakwera made this appeal on Thursday morning when he met with over 20 heads of missions and international agencies at Kamazu Palace in Malawi. Meanwhile, with only 5 days left for the president to appoint a new vice president, as mandated by the law, the clock is ticking and the nation eagerly awaits this crucial decision. Political analysts also say this will be crucial for the political landscape in Malawi. And now to discuss this further, I'm joined by political scientist Wonderful Huncha, who joins from Zomba in Malawi. Wonderful. Many thanks for joining me today. Let's get started because we're pressed for time. The president appeals to the international community to help probe the crash, the crash that claimed the vice president's lives, amongst others. Does he suspect any foul play here if he's asking for help? Is it just a procedure for closure for the family and Malawans in general, or does he suspect there's a foul play?
Thank you for having me. The president or the government does not suspect any foul play, even though some sectors of the public questioning the circumstances around the crash. So the government simply has to do the investigations because it's the procedure, and also is going to give closure both to the family and also the general public that is suspecting that certain circumstances are not adding up to the crash.
Now, the president also described the late vice president as a distinctive man of honor. In your own words, how would you describe the late VP and what kind of legacy has he left behind for the people of Malawi?
The late Vice President Saulos Chilima was a man of vision. He had political clarity that was missing in the Malawian political scene. He was always talking about hope. telling Malawians that they have to believe that the future is going to be good, and he is going to take the leading role in creating that kind of future. So with his demise, that's the absence that it has created in the political scene in Malawi. He was a man who had a vision, and he had good intentions. That is why most people are worried that he is gone.
And now, with his, demise, it's now a complete political dynamic that's now at play. And let's talk about that for a bit, right? The president is supposed to appoint a new vice president within 7 days, and also the late vice president was supposed to contest against Chakwara, the current president, in the upcoming elections. Now, do you think his death is going to change the political landscape of Malawi when it comes to the upcoming elections, plus an appointment of a new vice president?
Yes, the death of Dr. Chilima will completely change the political landscape in the country. For now, the major two competing parties are the ruling Malawi Congress Party and also the opposition Democratic Progressive Party. And Dr. Chilima was the answer as to who was going to win the next election. So whichever way he was going to go, that is where most people would have likely gone and vote for that candidate. So because he's now out of the scene, it has created that void that people no longer have a political direction as far as the next elections are concerned. And again, he was in an alliance government with the President Chakwera. As the president is going to choose the next vice president, that's the big decision on him. Because if he chooses someone from UTM, which was Dr. Chakwera's party, it is going to consolidate the alliance. If he chooses someone from his own party, then that is going to divide the alliance. And these decisions are going to have huge implications in the next year's elections. Now,
we're pressed for time here, wonderful, but do you have names? Do you, who are the names that are likely coming up for an appointment or to take up the mantle of vice president?
When it comes to the UTM party, the name that is coming out is Dr. Michael Usi, who was the vice president of the party. So if the president is looking for someone inside UTM, then it should be Dr. Usi. When it comes to inside MCP, there are names of Gotani, who is the Speaker of Malawi Parliament. So we don't know which direction the president is going to go.
Well, very interesting times ahead, especially for the political scenes in Malawi. But again, our hearts go out to the people of Malawi and the family of the vice president and the 8 others that have died. Many thanks again. Wonderful for doing this with us.
Thank you.
And still ahead on News Now on News Central TV, Houthi missiles attack injures a sailor on cargo ship. More after this break. Stay with us. Two cruise missiles launched by Yemen's Houthi rebels struck a bulk cargo carrier in the Gulf of Aden on Thursday, severely injuring a sailor who was evacuated by American forces. The Houthis have been targeting vessels in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden since November 2023 in attacks they say are in solidarity with Palestinians during the ongoing Israel-Hamas war in the Gaza Strip. Although this has caused major disruption to international shipping, casualties have been rare. The Houthis has announced they carried out the attacks on 3 ships within the past 24 hours, including the Verbana in the Arabian Sea and 2 other vessels in the Red Sea.
البحرية والقوة الصاروخية وسلاح الجو المسير في القوات المسلحة اليمنية بعون الله تعالى 3 عمليات عسكرية خلال 24 ساعة الماضية وعلى النحو التالي: الأولى نفذتها القوة الصاروخية في البحر العربي، استهدفت سفينة فربينا وقد أصيبت إصابة مباشرة ما أدى إلى اشتعال الحريق فيها بفضل الله. والثانية استهدفت سفينة سيجاردين في البحر الأحمر وقد أصيبت إصابة مباشرة بفضل الله. والثالثة استهدفت سفينة أثينا في البحر الأحمر وقد أصيبت إصابة مباشرة بفضل الله. وقد
The World Bank has approved a $2.25 billion funding package for Nigeria aimed at enhancing economic stability and supporting vulnerable populations. Now, the package includes the $1.5 billion Nigeria Reforms for Economic Stabilization to Enable Transformation Development Policy Financing Program and the $750 million Nigeria Accelerating Resource Mobilization Reforms Program for Results. Now, this funding will provide immediate financial and technical support for Nigeria's economic stabilization efforts, enhance non-oil revenue generation, safeguard oil revenues, and promote fiscal sustainability. The package, described as virtually a grant, offers a 40-year term with a 10-year moratorium and a nominal 1% interest rate. BRICS says it has started off a payment system toward a common currency target with a strategy to make 80% of all trade amongst members in local currencies. The bloc says it's looking to create a settlement payment system that would be independent of foreign currency and foreign backing systems as moves are made away from the dominant U.S. dollar. The BRICS Experts Forum announced this on the sidelines of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum in Russia, where the host country also announced that it was already spearheading the initiative. And now in sports, the Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, will hire an expatriate technical advisor for the Super Eagles after the team's dismal outing in the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Nigeria have failed to win a match out of 4 games in the qualification series, the latest being a shocking loss to the lowly Benin Republic in their last clash. The development triggered a backlash from fans calling for Finidi George's sack. Now, days after the loss, the NFF, in a statement communique following a meeting, said the appointment of the technical advisor would come in the coming weeks and apologized to Super Eagles fans for the team's outing in recent days. It is, however, unclear what role Finidi will play in the Super Eagles going forward.
It's a very sad moment for Nigerian football. We can't run away from that. But all I want to assure you that is that we are working tirelessly in conjunction with the minister to see that we come out with some holistic measures that will change the face of the entire system so that we can move forward. Don't forget, it's still possible and we are going to make it. And I just want to assure you that we are going to fight it to the letter and Nigeria will qualify to the World Cup. This is not something that I will just say it now, but very soon you are going to see the measures that NFF will come out with, and by the grace of God, those measures that we are going to take will lead us to qualify to the next World Cup.
In the meantime, the Super Falcons of Nigeria have retained their position as the #1 team in Africa while maintaining the 36th place in the world rankings. Now, despite fierce competition and the dynamic nature of the rankings, the Falcons remain static at the top, showcasing their formidable prowess. South Africa has also maintained their position, staying 51st in the world and 2nd in Africa. Meanwhile, Morocco remains 3rd in Africa but has dropped 1 place in the world rankings, now standing at 59th. The rest of Africa's top 10 includes Zambia, Ghana, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Tunisia, Mali, and Equatorial Guinea. And still on football, Beyond Limits have been crowned champions of the 2023-24 Nigeria National League season after beating Nasarawa United 4-3 on penalties in the final of the Super Eagle playoff in Enugu. The keenly contested final ended 2-2 in regulation time. Farouk Ogundere gave Beyond Limits the lead from the spot in the 28th minute, while Anas Yusuf leveled scores for Nasarawa United 5 minutes later. Beyond Limits regained the lead through Shino Ayodele 1 minute after the break, while Peter Eneje scored the equalizing 12 minutes from time. The Malian Football Federation has announced that head coach Eric Chelle has been relieved of his duties after a series of disappointing performances in the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Now, this decision comes just days after Mali's goalless draw against a 10-man Madagascar in Johannesburg, a match that saw the Eagles fail to capitalize on their numerical advantage following a red card to Madagascar in the 16th minute. Now, prior to this draw, Mali squandered a one-goal lead to lose 2-1 to the Black Stars, who had been struggling in their recent games. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Court of Appeal is expected to rule on the fate of the defecting status of 25 pro-Wike River State lawmakers today. South Africa's 7th Parliament swears in new members in its first sitting today. We also told you that Niger has shut off oil export pipeline to Benin amid diplomatic row. Now remember that you can send us your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number now showing on the screen. And while you're at it, please make sure to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and live on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith at TV.